How did Spotify go from the internet's most beloved music streaming service to currently one of the most hated apps on the planet? If you've been on the internet lately, you may have noticed that people are mass canceling their Spotify subscription, but this time, it's not because they're underpaying artists or promoting AI music or manufacturing more ghost artists or feeding targeted ads to users, even those with premium accounts. It's because of this one guy, Daniel Ek. And the actions he has strategically taken over the years has made Spotify one hell of a platform. Under his control, Spotify turned into an anti-music app, hiking its subscription prices 3 times in just the past 2 years alone. Even worse, Spotify is actively pushing to dilute the quality of music on their platform in an effort to make more money, while their CEO goes on Twitter to tell music lovers and artists that music costs close to nothing to make. It seems like as Spotify grows bigger, their priority shifts even more to worse things that profit nobody but themselves. So how did we get here? Why is the Spotify experience becoming worse for many people? How are they ruining the music you love? And most importantly, can Spotify save itself from this mass exodus again?
Spotify is becoming borderline unusable. And this is coming from a day one Spotify glazer.
Now that Spotify is going to start putting ads into Spotify Premium so that they can roll out a deluxe premium without ads that costs more, maybe some of you will finally listen to me.
A bunch of Spotify's playlists are now filled with AI garbage.
And a bunch of people have been canceling their subscription.
I just canceled my Spotify Premium account.
Just woke up and the first thing I'm doing today is canceling my Spotify Premium subscription.
I think there's no better way to start this video than to ask the question, why the fuck do people actually use Spotify? No, seriously, there are 3 major things that make up a good music streaming service, and Spotify sucks at almost all 3. 1. Pricing. On July 2023, Spotify increased the price of their music streaming service from $9.99 to $10.99. 1 year later, they increased it again to $11.99. A 30% increase in just 2 years, and that's not even counting the people outside the US who saw prices skyrocket to almost $14 per month. And yes,
this is the worst.
Spotify has been the only app doing this, if you don't count Amazon Music. Apple Music and YouTube Music have only raised prices once in the US in 2022 for Apple and 2023 for YouTube. But here's where it gets interesting. With a YouTube Music subscription, you don't just get access to a large library of songs, you get an ad-free version of both YouTube Music and YouTube. With an Apple One plan, you can get Apple Music, Apple News, Apple Arcade, as well as Apple TV. But with Spotify, the only thing you get is, well, Spotify. The irony in all this is that when Spotify was asked why they continue to raise prices every year, their CEO, Daniel Ek, essentially said their app offered a much better value for money. Something that reason number 2 would not agree with. Spotify's audio quality is shit if you've never used another music app before.
You see, streaming services want their file sizes to be as small as possible for several reasons. That way, storing millions of songs takes up less space on their expensive music servers, and when you select a song to play on your device, it takes less time to load and buffer. Finally, downloading a song for offline listening takes up less of your storage space. So smaller file sizes benefits everyone, and the way that's done is through audio compression, which can be achieved in a variety of ways with different methods delivering different levels of quality, file size, and cost. When Apple Music was originally released in 2015, Apple only offered songs compressed in their AAC format, which, while not retaining 100% of the original audio data, did deliver better sound quality than Spotify's Ogg Vorbis format. But in 2021, Apple took things even further by offering lossless audio using their own compression format called ALAC. Lossless simply means there's no data lost between the original song file and the compressed file. This means better sound quality, but also larger file sizes.
That's the nerdy version. In simple terms, streaming on Spotify is like paying for YouTube Premium only for them to serve you videos in 480p. After 5 years of waiting,
Spotify has lossless audio now. But what does that mean? So when Drake finishes a song in the studio, that file has all of the detail, all of the quality, all of the frequencies. That file sounds the best. But since it has all of that information, the file's big, and it would be hard to stream. So Spotify compresses it down. They make the quality slightly worse, so it's easier to stream. Lossless is still compressed, but it's compressed in a way that doesn't lose any of the detail. But then
there were just a few problems.
It's still hard to stream. It's only supported on some devices.
But most importantly, it was only released for premium users.
Come on!
Yeah. I know what you're going to say. Most people can't tell the difference in sound quality, and you're right. The average listener probably couldn't pick out much between Spotify and Apple Music, but that's exactly the issue. Not everyone is a casual listener. If they were, you wouldn't see hundreds of YouTube videos and Reddit threads begging Spotify to finally step up their game and improve their audio quality. And you wonder why comments like this get thousands of likes. The third thing that makes a good music streaming app is the user experience. And if you've been on Spotify long enough, you'd know people are generally not happy with the state of the app. There's so much people don't like about the Spotify experience, but what stands out the most is the great shuffle problem. Every corner of the internet, you'll find people crying their eyes out about how Spotify Shuffle doesn't truly shuffle. Imagine you're at the gym, ready to lift your weights. You open your playlist and hit shuffle to get in that Sam Sulek zone, only for Spotify to play the same Drizzy song on repeat again and again. In Gabby's video about the Spotify Shuffle problem, she talked about one pissed off Spotify customer who was so frustrated by the shuffle problem that they decided to run an entire experiment to prove that Spotify's Shuffle doesn't really shuffle.
This person created a playlist of 99 songs, but a jank one. Then they added one very obscure, not popular song to this playlist to complete a 100-song playlist. They then force shuffled this playlist 50 times. Their unpopular 100th track was never listed higher than 77th in the shuffled queue. They suggested that Spotify's algorithm only prioritizes popular songs in the playlist and puts less popular songs towards the end or bottom of the queue.
It's not that Spotify only picked popular artists over smaller ones, but because Spotify wanted to prioritize user engagement over actual preference on their app, they changed their code from true random, where songs were selected from playlists purely by chance, to a new shuffle algorithm that intelligently picked songs for you. In the process, creating an illusion of shuffle from an algorithm that, as many put it, sucks ass. That's why you can have a playlist of 100 songs, but only Drake stays on repeat. But let's take a step back for a minute. Spotify has been under fire before. In 2014, when Taylor Swift pulled her music in protest of low pay. In 2021, when UMAW started the Justice for Artists movement, and again in 2022. But there has never been a time like this where people feel like they're ethically required to delete the app. And I'm not even kidding.
No, because the way there needs to be a global boycott of Spotify.
But to understand how we got here, let's first talk about the artists, because everybody keeps saying Spotify underpays artists, but nobody explains how. Now, imagine you're an artist with a whole team of producers backing you. You've spent months working on your music, pulling late nights while everyone else is asleep, pouring everything you have into this project. You drop it on Spotify. Then the streams start climbing from 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, then 100,000. You're excited thinking your life is about to change, only for Spotify to send you a paycheck that can barely cover food for a week. Unfortunately, this is the case for many artists today. And the reason for this? They're unprofitable. Spotify has stated multiple times that they give 70% of their revenue to artists, and that artists are their major priority in the music business, and they'll always support them no matter what. And the only reason they can't is because running the business is so expensive that at the end of the day, there's nothing left. So naturally, in 2024, when they finally made $1.4 billion in profit after 19 years of running the business at a loss, everybody expected that they would
put some of that cash back into the music economy to maybe support the artists that, are making my livelihood possible.
But that's not what they did. Instead, their CEO, Daniel Ek, used the flourish of the company's stock price and success to cash out fast. He started by selling off $100 million worth of stock in 2023, then $64 million, then $57 million. By April 2025, he had sold almost $1 billion worth of stock options. And where did this money go? Buying new yachts for the summer, as well as other strategic investments, while artists were almost going homeless. Literally. To give you an idea how insane $1 billion is for an artist, Taylor Swift, who is the biggest selling artist in the world with her almost 10 years track record on Spotify with 110 billion streams, has made a mizzling $400 million. That's a lot of money, but that's also for 10 years of work, releasing songs with literally billions of views on Spotify with multiple number ones. If you bring it back home, it's visually almost impossible for that kid sitting in their bedroom with a cheap mic, spending sleepless nights writing and recording songs to become a billionaire millionaire off of music streaming royalties, talk less of making a living. Out of the 10 million artists on Spotify, only 19% of them get above 1,000 streams per month, and only 0.2% make enough money to survive in America, meaning more than 9 million artists on Spotify can't make a living from their work no matter how talented they are. To make matters worse, Spotify completely turned their back on small artists when they announced they would no longer be paying anyone with less than 1,000 streams. A strategic decision that made them $47 million richer, but artists left with nothing. Spotify sent a clear message: money first, artists later. In a recent video by Vecken, he explained how one of his songs was added to a fake playlist without his consent, after which he noticed a suspicious spike in streams.
It got over 1,000 streams in one day. Normally, I'm getting maybe 70 monthly listeners across the entire month. In Spotify for Artists portal, you can see how many streams a day you're getting. And as you can see here, this is a very abnormal spike in my streams, and I thought, this is very odd.
After reaching out to Spotify to report the issue that was very unusual, Spotify removed his song from the playlist and punished him by deleting the very same song which he had spent probably months working on from their platform completely.
And I get this email telling me that my music, Your Heart, has been removed for artificial streaming. And at this point, I'm thinking,
all the time spent working on his music, all the money spent on production, all gone in an instant because an innocent artist reported to Spotify that they had a bot problem. Another artist who had spent over $100,000 on her album got her entire project deleted because Spotify's algorithm thought she was using artificial streams.
After accumulating hundreds of thousands of streams, Spotify deleted it. All of it. It's gone.
All the money spent on writers, producers, lawyers, mixers, masters, photo shoot, video production, all gone in the name of safety. All the time invested in this project was wasted because Spotify could not determine which artist was using bots and which artist was not. And the worst part is,
Spotify has flagged artificial streaming on your tracks. Because of that, your releases containing these tracks were removed from their platform. This doesn't mean you did anything wrong. These things can happen on Spotify without your knowledge. Thank you.
There are so many innocent artists out there who do not have the platform nor the opportunity to speak out. One commenter said,
It's funny that Spotify removed your music while they are pushing their own AI-generated music.
What's it like working in the engine room?
Another said, Spotify calling you out for AI streaming is the most hypocritical move ever, considering that they themselves promote AI slop content and botted playlists.
What's it like working in the engine room?
F*** off! Don't forget, Spotify is a business first and music provider later. That's why when Liz Pelly dropped her book Mood Machine, people were seriously baffled that Spotify would stoop that low. In her book, she alleged that Spotify was purposely diluting their platform with poor quality music through something called ghost artists. Ghost artists are like phantoms in the music industry. They exist on Spotify and sometimes other streaming platforms, but nowhere else. No Instagram account, no TikTok dances, no interviews, no concerts, no merch, not even a trace on Google. If you type their name into a search bar outside Spotify, you'll never find anything. In other words, ghost artists are the perfect tool to funnel money from you into the hands of the corporation. And what makes it even more scary is that unlike real musicians who build careers around their identity, ghost artists get paid to stay hidden. Their names on Spotify are chosen to sound unbelievably generic. Things like White Noise Baby, Ocean Sleep, or Lo-Fi Hip Hop as a means of increasing overall profit margins. The report includes insights from former Spotify staff, such as a playlist editor who explained that many employees didn't initially know where the music was coming from, because if the user doesn't notice, then it's fine. You know what? Here's another catch, because before Spotify, there was arguably a lot of piracy in the music industry. Services like Napster, LimeWire, and BitTorrent let people download music for free with just a few clicks. At its peak,
Napster was all the rage. Remember Napster? In tonight's News 8's throwback from April 10th, 2000, Consumer Bob shows us how the music sharing service was literally breaking the internet.
In just 2 years, the Recording Industry Association of America claimed piracy cost labels billions in lost revenue. A 2007 study by the Institute for Policy Innovation estimated that global music piracy was causing $12.5 billion in losses per year for the US economy, with the recording industry alone losing around $5 billion annually. By 2009, a report from the International Federation of the Phonographic Industry showed that 95% of all music downloads worldwide were illegal. That's nearly all digital consumption. But while music piracy was at an all-time high, album sales revenue was also at an all-time high because of physical media. Meaning, even though artists got their work pirated online, most people still spent their money on cassette tapes, CDs, and vinyls to support their favorite artist. With streaming, however, everything flipped. Piracy died, but physical media died with it. If an artist sold 1 million CDs at $15 each, that was $15 million gross revenue before touring and merch. If you wanted to make $15 million today as an artist, it would cost you 5 billion streams. A milestone only 30 artists could reach in 2024. Independent artists could sell physical CDs at shows for $10 to $20 each. If you sold 500 copies at a gig, that's $5,000 straight into your pocket. But as Spotify made music more convenient, college radio, CDs, iTunes, and vinyls that once defined the music experience and one of artists' biggest sources of revenue slowly eroded.
When I first came out, my records would sell based off of physical. If you sold 1 million copies, that means if $9.99, $9 million, you get this percentage, that's what it is. So if I sell how many streams, how much money do I get? It's not being translated and it's not working for the artist right now. And I just want to speak to that. In the music industry, like, that's fucked up.
That's right, dog, because concert tickets like Taylor Swift's era's tour tickets going for $500 to $1,000 each is insane. Back then, you had to make a trip maybe to Tower Records, Sam Goody, or your local indie record shop just to be able to listen to the latest album. The moment you stepped inside, it felt like stepping into another world. Rows of CDs wrapped in shiny plastic, cassettes stacked tight in racks, and vinyl records with big, bold covers that stood out as art pieces. You'd spend an hour flipping through albums, judging covers, reading track lists, or asking the music guy what was worth checking out. And he goes,
Tower Records, we've got it.
If you only had $15 or $20 in your pocket, the choice mattered. Picking an album was a commitment because it was something you'd be living with for weeks, maybe months. But unboxing your vinyl was always the best part. People used to actually listen to albums from track to track, not take opinions from Twitter on which song to listen to first. You could say discovering new music was its own adventure, from finding a new artist on MTV to writing down a song title from the radio before it disappeared. Music was persona and deeply connected to who you are as a person. Fast forward a few years and Spotify came along, offering an even better way to listen to music. But what they didn't tell you was that algorithms would replace the experience. And you wonder why people are going back to physical media. As many people realized, Spotify didn't care about your relationship with music. All it cared about was that you kept listening.
Spotify doesn't seem to care about your relationship to your music anymore. And for long-term users, this has kind of felt like a bait and switch. I'm not the only one who has gotten so annoyed at Spotify. When I was complaining about it on X, I heard from dozens and dozens of other users who were equally frustrated. They were complaining about how the homepage only emphasizes what you've played recently, and it just repeats recommendations. You're kind of encouraged to listen to the same stuff over and over again, and it's hard to explore an artist's discography. You really have to scroll and page through a lot of information to actually see all of the stuff that an artist has made. And sure, these design tweaks might seem minor. Like, what's the big deal if it takes another click or two to get to your library and actually pick something? But those little changes exert a big effect on how millions and millions of users use the app, and thus how they listen to music and what they listen to every day. So if a full album is harder to get to, then over time fewer people are going to listen to the full album, and thus the album becomes less important as a unit of music listening.
Spotify isn't actually a music app. At its core, it's an advertising company that makes a lot of money from understanding users' emotions, habits, and vulnerabilities based on the songs they play. Take the case of this Australian parent, for example, who found Spotify playing sports betting ads for his child after a Frozen song. For the past few years, many Australians have fallen into the trap of online gambling. Over 70% of Australians engaged in some form of gambling, and kids in this case were the most vulnerable. Spotify knew where the child was listening from, the level of gambling addiction within that geographical location, and also knew the perfect time to slip in the ad without causing much commotion.
Want a break from the ads? Upgrade now to Spotify Premium and enjoy ad-free music.
This is not to say personalized ads are bad per se. However, if you want a break from the ads, or have the freedom to shuffle music, or even change songs, you have to upgrade your plan to Premium, a decision many Spotify users haven't been happy with ever since their CEO decided to invest in AI military.
Yeah, artists and users are boycotting over two main issues. People are trying to figure out what they are.
So I'm not really sure what else to add past this point, other than just this dude runs his company company in a way to where he's paying artists poverty wages, and for years and years and years, the artists and the labels and the fans and organizations like UMAW have been saying, hey, pay these people more, they deserve more, your company is so successful, you're getting hundreds of millions of dollars in your pocket, the stock is soaring, you could be giving these artists more. And Spotify's response has just been like, it's the labels who pay the artists and we're just minding our business and doing our thing, like, so what? Meanwhile, the CEO of your company is sitting on enough money to invest hundreds of millions of dollars into military tech.
As of the moment of writing, Spotify CEO Daniel Ek has announced he would be stepping down from the company to focus on long-term strategy.
I have flaws. What are they? Oh, I don't know. I sing in the shower. Sometimes I spend too much time volunteering. Occasionally I'll hit somebody with my car.
Bingo! Whoa, whoa, whoa!
There is a reason Spotify executives are choosing not to pay artists more or improve your experience. It's not because they don't have the money. After all, a company that spends $1 billion on podcasts can clearly afford to invest more in their artists. It's also not because of low subscription fees either, as many have argued, because despite pulling in over $15 billion a year and $1.4 billion in profit while holding a bigger market share than any other music streaming service on the planet, they still pay one of the worst rates. But because of a six-letter word that many of you are probably familiar with. It's called stocks. Whether we like it or not, Spotify is a publicly traded technology company. The revenue and user base must only go up. That's the cycle. Meaning whether it comes from cutting their workforce, raising prices, stripping users of their privacy, as long as it causes this line to go up, it's a good thing. If you enjoyed this video, go watch my video on why physical media is making a comeback. You'll love it.